Hey everybody, thanks for joining the video. I'm Theen Sheehy and I am Green Hat Coaching and Consulting. So if you've popped into the video, you're probably curious about the quest for deep joy. Maybe you've watched my Facebook posts and wondering, why does she keep talking about deep joy all the time? I don't mean to be happy that much. So let's talk about what in the world deep joy is and how the 12-week program works. So first of all, I like to think about deep joy as something a little bit different than happiness, where happiness is really what happens at the top of the iceberg that we are to the public. And then deep joy is something a little down below the covers, right? It's deep in the soul. So our daily emotions are what happens as the days go by, and those can change. They have reason to change, they have purpose to change. But under the covers, in our deep soul, we have these deeper forces that can keep us happy from day to day if we know what the tricks are, if we know we have the right mindset, and we have some tools in the toolkit. So, for example, daily emotions include things like being angry and hurt and happy and frustrated, and all of those things have a purpose. There's no one, including me, saying you can't be those emotions on any given day. They're healthy, they have a purpose, they probably have a purpose, and they come and go from day to day. What we don't want is for them to sink in deep and really overtake your soul on a deeper level. So what we want to do is set up a deep force of joy deep inside of yourself, that you can control yourself, that you have the tools to control yourself, so that you have a mechanism to manage your own emotions, manage your own bodily sensations around happiness, and therefore you can do great things, right? You might want to go for a promotion, you might want to start a new charity, you might want to launch a new product. There are so many things on the planet that you might want to do, but if you don't have that confidence and hopefulness and resilience deep inside, you won't be able to take them on. So let's talk about how this works. So at the beginning of the 12 weeks, on a normal basis, there's just you. And you want to take off on a quest. Now, the guys who try to go hike, 10K mountains or, K2, they go through a lot of training to be prepared for this. Emotional training, physical training, probably some spiritual training as well, because this is, I've seen videos of people who have accomplished this, and it takes a lot. It takes a lot out of you. It takes a lot to prepare. So we want to make sure that you are ready. So when the quest unfolds, we're going to prepare you. I'm going to ask you to prepare by going through the Passions and Joys workbook. This is a free download workbook that I offer on various platforms, my website and Facebook and things like that. This is really the prep work that gets you prepared to take off on the quest. You get used to the deeper type of questions, and you remember what were those passions and joys when you were a kid, maybe in high school, maybe in your early 20s. And for some reason, something's happened to sort of steal those out of you, or you've forgotten what they were, or you've decided that for some reason they were stupid and worthless, and you've sort of given up on them. So let's get you back into that mindset first. Then we start with week 1, and week 1 builds on those passions and joys. It sets you up to decide, what do you want that goal to be out in your future? Could be 3 months or 6 months or 9 months or a year. It could be a 5-year goal or a 10-year goal, right? It just depends how big your vision is. And secondly, we want to look at what's your why, what's your motivation, because just like the guys who are climbing the mountain, we need to know why you're doing this, because without it, it's too easy to get tired and it's too easy to give up. So let's set in place what your motivation, what your why is, and that way it's always there, present in front of you while we go through these 3 months, plus for the rest of your life. Now, in week 2, we look at your strengths and your superpowers. So we have a couple of different online assessments we can use for that. We're going to talk about what do those look like in your life, but they really build a crust of strength around you. And they prepare you, again, for this journey of the 12 weeks, plus for the rest of your life. It's good to know what those strengths are. 20 years ago or so, we decided we weren't going to worry about fixing your weaknesses. We're just going to work on your strengths because those are inherent to you, and there's no reason we shouldn't just make the most of them. Week 3, we're going to take those impediments, things that used to be roadblocks, and we're going to turn them into empowerments, right? We're going to try to figure out what was the drag in your sales, what were speed bumps, what were maybe the anchors that were holding you back. What sort of statements were given to you as a child that, you know, as an innocent child, you believed them. And for some reason, they're holding you back now. They're making you think you either aren't good enough, strong enough, smart enough, or that something about your intended purpose isn't valid or isn't good enough. So we're gonna trash all those. We're gonna twist them and turn them, or we're gonna turn them into empowerments and things that can actually move you forward. Week 4, we're going to look at savoring and mindfulness. These are not just coffee and flowers. We're going to look at people and places and things and events and learnings that really soak into your soul and teach you how to be present in the moment, because we need these things to strengthen our soul every day. The world is a tough place, especially in the time of COVID and the pandemic. So we need mechanisms to slow down, to remember what's good for us, what we enjoy, because they create some strength in us as we move forward to accomplish our goal and accomplish our life purpose. Week 5, we're going to look at experiences versus stuff. How do you spend your money versus your time? And what we will find is there's research out there, several different research studies that tell us that what we think makes us happy doesn't, and things that do make us happy only make us happy for a short period of time. So if we find the smarter ways to spend our money and our time, we're actually going to create more lasting happiness in our soul. And again, it's the happiness, the joy deep in our soul that gives us the strength to live our purpose in spite of the hurricanes and the torments of life and the stuff that happens, the ups and the downs, and the hills and the valleys and the storms. So if we can create that deep joy, this is what's going to allow you to live your purpose. So on to week 6. We're going to talk about exercise, play, and meditation. And again, there's several research studies around these physical activities that strengthen your mind and strengthen your soul and actually have a neurochemical reaction that again can create a space for happiness, a space for deep joy in your soul, so that again you have the intention, the strength of character to move forward, to live your purpose, and to meet your goals. Week 7, we're going to move into gratitude and journaling. This is again similar to savoring. We need to learn how to slow down, how to recognize the things that we should give thanks for. We need to practice giving thanks to the people who actually created those things. And we need to document them, because when we document the things we're thankful for, we have a historical record of them, and that being able to look back through your historical record of gratitude is a powerful thing. It reminds you that the life is not bad. Life has lots of good things in it. And the documenting itself sort of locks in with another sense with your kinesthetic hand. It locks in that thankfulness, and it also gives us a mechanism for actually sharing that thanks with others. So public thank yous are also important. So we'll talk about those. Week 8, we're going to talk about social connections. So especially the closest circle of family and friends who give us strength, who hold us accountable, who sometimes call us on the carpet for crazy ideas. Those people that are closest to us are super important in maintaining our deep joy. And when we lose them, it's easy to lose that deep joy in our soul. But it's also important to have 2 or 3 other circles of lesser friends. That may be not a great phrase, but not the closest of friends, but still friends. And then acquaintances, and then some very loose social connections. The person at the coffee shop, the barista who gives you your favorite coffee every day, the librarian, whoever is the person that you maybe only do a short transaction with, you've seen them a couple times. Those kinds of hellos and connections are important as well. So moving on to week 9, we've got leading joy in teams. So this is important for those of you who actually are bosses, and for those of you who are sort of the natural born leaders. You are in peer groups and you happen to function a bit as an internal peer level leader. So that could be at work, it could be at school, it could be at church, it could be in your sports clubs. It doesn't really matter where, but we need to learn how do we bring our joy in an appropriate way into the teams that we're a part of? How do we help foster joy within the team? And how do we help foster joy within the people who are in the team with us, right? So it's about teamwork, but it's also about empowering and making joyful or enabling the joy within the team members that we work with. All right, coming towards the end now. Week 10, we're going to talk about relationship styles. There's 2 primary models here we're going to talk about. One of them has to do with what it feels like to be a victim and why that is super, super difficult. Not the best way to operate when you're trying to be in deep joy. And another one called the empowerment triangle, and how might you behave when you're in the empowerment triangle and choose that triangle of relationships and conversations versus the victim or the drama triangle. Moving into week 11, we're going to start, there's going to be 2 weeks where we're going to talk about how to actually achieve your goal. The first one, we're going to learn a little bit about planning with agility. So we do like to make plans. Plans help us get to where we're going, but they also have a tendency to break. So they say that in war, the first casualty of war is the plan. It doesn't mean the planning wasn't an important process, but it does mean it doesn't survive long. So we're going to talk about ways to think about your plan and construct your plan in such a way that when it has flaws or failures or something gets in the way or life gets in the way, how can you look at that process and still maintain your level of deep joy? And the final week is a little bit more of that planning. We're going to talk about what is your roadmap to achieve your goal, to achieve your life purpose. What are some options you have, and what are the ways that you can track daily progress? Because we love daily progress, right? You can check off the item on your to-do list, and all of a sudden you get a little dopamine happy pill in your brain, and it just gives you a little pump of energy for the day. Plus, it actually moves you closer to your life purpose and your goal. So, so that's really the end of the 12 weeks. I think there is actually a wrap-up week where we'll talk together once more after week 12. The goal is really, again, to allow you to move through the 12 weeks to actually measure your happiness at the beginning and at the end, and actually show yourself that you are actually able to become happier, to create more deep joy in your soul, and that you now have the tools to do all of that. So one more slide about what's included in the program itself. We begin with a Deep Joy Manifesto. You can find that on my product showcase, Member Vault. And that is a statement of intention of not only what we're going to accomplish in the 3 months, but also your intention to live in deep joy, to manage your happiness on a sustainable day-to-day basis. Included in the program is also the online modules themselves. They open up week by week on a schedule. Within those modules, you will find the workbook pages. So there's about 2 pages every week that you download, and they become where you take the notes for the questions that are part of the modules. In addition, you will get an email from me every week it'll come about halfway through the week or so. It'll look back at what you've learned in the current week and also set you up, prepare you for the next week's topics. And also, of course, we're going to do a weekly coaching call. So we're actually going to talk about what did you learn. You can bring up questions. You can dig in deeper about anything that's concerning you about that particular week or about life in general. You're going to practice weekly journaling. And so this begins at the beginning. It does get talked about a bit more in the middle of the session. This is, again, a practice that you can begin to record not only your gratitudes. I have a gratitudes journal that I think goes back 10 or 15 years maybe. And it's the sweet thing to look at, to remember that life was good all the way through. But it's also about what are your high points and low points for the day, perhaps. What were the things you were thankful for? What were the friends that you met? And how did you do on your daily practices? So I provide you a daily practice tracker as part of the program. Over time, you'll probably have a different version for yourself. The program gives you a laundry list over the course of the weeks about different options for your daily practices. You'll choose each day 1 or 2 or 3 of those to manage and sustain your personal happiness. So this is a happiness that's intrinsic, meaning you control it yourself, so that if the sun's not shining and the kids are crying, you still have that core base of deep joy within you. Once you graduate from the 12-week program, then we can move on to another 3-month, pretty open-ended set of conversations called Life Trekking in Deep Joy. The topics are yours to choose, and I'm happy to participate and to do that weekly or perhaps bi-weekly if that's better for you. My focus in this particular course is really professionals, entrepreneurs, people who are beginning to look for or just moving into a pretty active retirement. So it's going to be mostly mid-career, midlife kinds of age groups, just because that's where I'm at, and I think that's where I make the most difference. So I hope you'll join me in the program. I hope this has been helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions, and you can always message me, or you can set up a 30 or 60-minute strategy call for free, and we can talk over Zoom and see if this works for you. Thanks so much. Have a great day, and be joyful. Bye-bye.